Hey up, y'all. Fruity here. So, another Chris Chan meme has been making the rounds on the social media again. And, well, what did Chris do this time? Well, it has nothing to do with Chris, actually. Instead, it has to do with a certain object of Chris's. The thing he wears around his neck. That's right, the Sonichu Medallion. Apparently, according to Twitter and Reddit, and a lot of other places, the Sonichu Medallion is cursed, and whoever wears it, their life will go to heck in a handbasket. Now, is that true? What are the facts surrounding these people's lives going down the toilet? Well, I looked into them. Let's find out together. Now let's start off with the strongest evidence against it, and then work towards the weakest ones, because that's how I think this video should be stylized. Now, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, he was a very, very valued and respected member of the YouTube law community and of YouTube itself just 7 months ago. And then on a live stream or podcast, he opened up some fan mail that contained Sonichu Medallion, and what I'm assuming was a little joke written on a piece of paper in it, saying that the curse needs another owner. Now, whether the medallion did that or not, that'll fall into your purviews of your conundrums. Alright? But the point is that Nick Rekieta, his life, it's gone down the toilet. He has been arrested. He is no longer a lawyer. The cops raided his house. They found drugs and all this sorts of stuff. I'm not going to make a video on Nick. All right? That if you want to watch a video on that, go somewhere else. But this is the strongest evidence pointing towards that the Sonichu Medallion is actually cursed. And what actually led me into making this video is everyone yelling at me about the Sonichu Medallion being cursed because of Nick Rekieta. Now, there is potentially another person who it happened to, and we'll get into them now. Now, unlike Nick Rekieta, whose life is in tatters and in the toilet, this person's life is entirely gone. This individual was known as Crip Daddy. He was a disabled person who, 4 months before his passing, dressed up like Chris with a real Sonichu Medallion made by Chris. Now that is some evidence pointing towards the Sonichu Medallion being cursed. But I want to iterate that there are a few facts that a lot of people miss out when talking about this person. One, he was disabled. He had some kind of disability. I couldn't find out what kind it was, but that probably went towards the cause of his death. A second point being that the cause of his death is yet to be released by his family, and they have every right to do so, considering that he was a disabled person who posted funny videos online. Alright, we have no reasons to contact the family and ask them how he died. Alright, so I want to move on to one last person, then we'll go into if the medallion is cursed or not. Now, what would a video about the Sonichu Medallion be without the man, the myth, the legend himself, Chris Chan? Arguably, the only time Chris's life has actually gotten better was when he's either concealing the medallion or wasn't wearing it at all. In jail, he had a lot of time to think over his decisions and try and get his life back together before he was released into the outside. And he wasn't wearing that medallion for sure when they let him back into the real world, when they said, alright, we're not taking you to trial, we're not sending you to prison for what you did to your mom. And now that he has a medallion on the outside, you can see his life is slowly falling apart bit by bit. Now, is this entirely on the medallion? Well, his life did get considerably worse when he originally made the original medallion. And, well, it's gotten progressively worse and worse over the years. his house burned down. You know what? I'm not even going to go into a lot of what Chris has done and the bad things that have happened to him. There is a link to a video in the description on who he is. If you for some reason you need to get up to speed on Chris during a Sonichu Medallion video. But to summarize it, I think the only times Chris's life has actually gotten better was when the medallion was not on him. And is that circumstantial evidence? Yeah. It probably is. But he still was not allowed to be in the echo chamber of the internet and in his house playing with his little toys. And he had time to think and draw in prison. Not in prison, in jail on what he did. Now, let's go into if the medallion is actually cursed or not. These were just some victims of the medallion and why they are relevant into it being a current trending topic. Now, I really want to stress from this point out that the rest of what I'm going to present is not scientific evidence. Curses are not scientifically real. But if I left the video off on that, it would be kind of boring now, wouldn't it? So, what I did was, I went out and I looked for some people who were into the paranormal and into curses, or were knowledgeable on them more than I was. And I did find out a few things. For one, it might not be a curse. Now, objects can be haunted by ghosts, just like houses can be too, alright? There is a couple of famous things that are haunted, like the Annabelle doll, or James Dean's car. Alright, so who would be haunting the Sonichu Medallion? I think it would be Bob. Bob Chandler would certainly be the one haunting the Sonichu Medallion. Now, with that said, why would his motives be to make people's lives worse, including his own son's? I don't know. But that is one of the possible theories. Another that I heard, or was presented to me, was that the nastiness and things that happened to Chris while he was wearing the medallion rubbed off on him on a spiritual level. And they have been imparted onto every Sonichu Medallion ever, especially the real ones. Now, do you see where this is going a little? So, that means that just by wearing a Sonichu Medallion, real or fake, you still have a potentially cursed object. This would be the complete opposite of like how Jesus is to a cross, or like a cross is to the Christian or Catholic faith. The Sonichu Medallion is to being a cursed object. Just compare it to that. Like, as in, not every cross has to be made out of a particularly religious element for it to work as a cross. Not every Sonichu Medallion has to be real and made by Chris for it to have this particular curse on it. Now, that being said, is the Sonichu Medallion cursed? I'm gonna be on the safe side and say yes. You shouldn't be purchasing any Sonichu shit to begin with, especially from Chris. Your life will be worse off even if there is no curse. So let's just say it's yes and move on. Because after saying that, that's it for today.
Our journey to victory has begun! Death to the MPLA!